Any update on City?
He was able to practice today. We'll evaluate him to see how he feels after practice later on tonight, continuing to get treatment. But it looks like he could be available as long as there are no setbacks from practice. He was able to get through the whole practice to do some things. Obviously, he's rusty and not in the condition that you need to be. So if he is able to play, it would be in spurts. But he was able to get through practice. He looked good. He moved well. We'll have to see about the pain now and to evaluate him tonight.
That ninth player would make a big difference.
It would be. The other thing is that it gives us another ball handler, a guy that can create, a guy that has some experience. It would do that.
I think with the young team, we probably ask you pretty often about emotions and how they respond to different things. And this is a new one coming off a pretty big win. How have you seen them in the last 48 hours?
Yeah, we talked that night right after the game. Obviously, we were very excited, and we should have been. And we wanted to enjoy it. But just like North Carolina, we have to flush it and we have to move on. And yesterday's preparation was mainly mental. We watched tape, we walked through some things, we shot some free throws, but the message was also now it's time to move on to the next play. And we have to be ready to accept the challenge that's in front of us. And just like we didn't allow North Carolina the sting of that loss, we didn't carry that over with us for Louisville. We can't carry over the joy that we felt to this game. Like, it's a new game, and we have to be sharper in our preparation, because it's also a new challenge, life on the road in the ACC. We'll have 5 guys that have never played an ACC road game, and one of the players in there, just right before I came in here, we just finished practice, came and sat with me, and coach how are road games in the ACC. And so this will be a new experience, and not only a road, you're playing against a really, really good team that's coming off of a loss. And that building has energy. Their fan base is rabid, and especially now because Kevin Keats and his staff and their team, they've really energized that fan base. And so we know it'll be a really good environment there, and we'll be playing against an outstanding team. So, we have to be tough, we have to be sharp, we have to be together, and we have to be connected.
How did Trey feel the next day?
He felt fine. He was good. I think he just banged knees. I think that's all it was.
He talked about getting a lot of extra work after practice with Milan and just trying to expand his offensive repertoire, I guess. I mean, have you seen that from him in terms of putting in that extra work? It seems like he's wired to score anyway, but I guess he's finding more ways to do that now.
Yeah, he has put in a lot of work. He and Coach Brown are in here sometimes. Like today was before practice because he knew that we had to leave. To start to get ready to fly out. So they were in here a little bit earlier before practice. Sometimes, during the break, they would get in the morning, before practice. They do some stuff after practice. So he has put in work. But you know what? A lot of our guys have, and it's something that hopefully that's the culture we want to build, where there's work, there's nonstop work. You're constantly trying to invest in your craft, invest in your game to get better and to improve things, to correct things, to something that you're good at, to refine it, to help it become better, to sharpen it, to keep it sharp. And so that's the culture we're trying to create here.
When you look at him in his second game in the ACC, he scores 33 points. Do you see a limit to his potential? I mean, where can he grow still from what he showed on Wednesday?
Well, he has a large room to grow. He was really, really good, and he's a good player. I love the fact that he's not afraid. A freshman playing your second ACC game, like you said, and then playing against Louisville. I mean, they're good, and they're old. Their backcourt is old. And to do that against them and to not be afraid of the moment to do that, is big time. But there are a lot of things he can work, continue to work on his handle to become an even more consistent shooter, to understand the game more, where to pick your spots, to become a better passer, to be able to think the game and to see the game a little bit differently. He has a large ceiling, a very high ceiling, I should say, in order to grow. And the thing I love is that he's not afraid of that. He understands that, and I think he wants that.
You know, you like to play pretty fast, but I think NC State's in the top 10 in the country in tempo. I mean, do you see this being a pretty up and down game tomorrow there?
Well, we can't play at their pace completely because we don't have the depth that they do. And so, look, we want to play fast. We want to take advantage of opportunities, but at the same time, we have to have poise. We have to be smart about it. I think what they do, like they create chaos, and we can't be chaotic in chaos. That's what I think they want you to do. And so we have to pick our spots, and we want to run, we want to be aggressive, but we also have to be smart. And one of the things I've talked to Xavier about, we talked a lot about this after Louisville. There may be times because of his speed where he's not tired, but the other four guys may be on the court with him. And so he has to be able to read that. That's part of his growth. And so, he's got to pull it out sometimes. He's got to slow it down sometimes and allow guys to catch up with him.
You went to the 5 guards at the end, sort of out of necessity, but what was your sort of evaluation of how they played in that alignment?
I thought we did okay. We had to play zone in the alignment because of we couldn't afford to have another guy foul out. And I think at that moment, we had 2 other guys, maybe 3 with 4 fouls. And so we just stuck in the zone. Normally when we would play 5 guards, we would be in man and we'd be in a switching man-to-man defense. Offensively, I thought, we did some good things. We have to work on our spacing in it and to, be able to make the proper reads. That's something we've tried to work on a little bit today. We've worked on it before in practice, but going forward, that's something we'll look at doing a little bit more.
The other night, you listed a bunch of different things that these guys had to invest in, including diet and hydration, things like that. Is it almost like in playing basketball here to a job? The ACC demands something like that?
Look, if you want to be really good at anything, and especially in our sport, you have to invest in it. Like, it can't just be, well, I'm just going to show up and play. I'm going to show up, this time of the season, the practices aren't as long as when you first started. And so I've always said this to guys, like, to players in general, like, for instance, for us as coaches, we are only allowed to work with these guys 4 hours a day. That's during the season. Before the season, before we start practice, we get 8 hours a week that we can work with them. That's not enough. And so if you want to be really good, like, you have to invest the time. Like, I don't believe that coaches make players better. I think coaches help players become better. Players make themselves become better because they have to put in the time, they have to put in the work, they have to invest in it. And it's all those things. And the guys that become really good, there's no secret. There's some guys that are just more talented and maybe it's a little bit easier. But the guys that become really good and become the best versions of who they can be are the guys that put in the work. And that's what we have to learn to do, all those things, because no high school guy knows it. They know how to do it in high school. But every time you move up a level, you have to understand that it requires more. That's, you're freshman and you've become a really good player. As that season goes on, then you have to understand you're a marked man. So you got to be sharper even forward because now, what are we, 15 games in? What are we, 11-4, I think? So we're 15 games in. We have 15 games where teams now, like NC State has 15 games they can watch. It's not like the third game where that third opponent that we played only had 2 games to see Xavier and to see Trey. So they picked apart his game. NC State will know Xavier's game. They'll know Trey's game. They'll know that. And so that's why you have to constantly keep working. You can't be satisfied. You can't think that I've already done something. You have to keep working. And that investment requires a lot. And that's why a lot of people don't become as good as they can be because they're not willing to make that investment.
Does it help though now that teams are maybe, once they were seeing you on film, they're saying, okay, we got to stop this Xavier Johnson kid from getting in the lane, getting to the rim. He's making so much stuff happen. But now when Trey puts something like that on film, that it adds another element for teams to prepare.
No, it does. It does. I mean, the more guys we have playing well, the better we'll be, and it's more guys for people to be concerned about. And so we welcome that. We want all of our guys to play really, really well. Like Terrell played extremely well against Louisville. I'm sure there'll be a little bit more attention to him, in the scouting report from NC State and from other teams going forward, because you see what he's capable of doing. And that's why he's got to work harder now. The things that he's done in the past, it's not good. You have to keep, when you have success, man, you have to keep staying sharp. You have to keep working, because people want to come after you even more then. So you have to stay sharp and diligent in your work and what you're trying to do.